Black girl racially profiled and hurt by two white U.S. soldiers for walking in her street. Before we start this heartbreaking story, subscribe to Wealth and Wounds. We tell the stories they don't want you to hear, the stories of injustice, pain, and resilience that the world tries to bury. Let's get into it. The air was warm and still in the small town of Millstone, Georgia, as 17-year-old Aaliyah Greene walked home from her part-time job at the diner. She'd taken this route 100 times. The streets were quiet, lined with streetlights and familiar houses. But that night, her life would change forever. As she passed an alley near the corner store, she heard heavy boots behind her. Two white men in military uniforms stepped out of the shadows. "Hey," one of them barked. "Where you headed?" Aaliyah froze. "Home," she whispered. "You live around here?" the other soldier asked, his voice sharp. "Yes," she said, clutching her backpack tighter. They exchanged a glance. "Show us your ID," one demanded. Aaliyah's heart pounded. "Why?" "Because you don't look like you belong here," he said with a smirk. Before she could respond, one soldier grabbed her arm. "Let me go," Aaliyah cried, twisting away. The other soldier stepped closer. "Relax. We just need to make sure you're not causing trouble. I live here. I didn't do anything." They laughed. "We've had reports of suspicious activity," one of them lied. Aaliyah's fear turned to panic. She screamed for help, but the soldiers pushed her against a wall. "Keep your voice down," one hissed. Aaliyah's knees buckled as she tried to fight back. One soldier shoved her so hard she hit the ground, scraping her cheek. From a second-floor window nearby, 62-year-old Miss Evelyn, a retired teacher, watched the scene unfold. She grabbed her phone and started recording. Miss Evelyn had lived in Millstone her whole life. She'd seen this kind of racial profiling before, but never this brazen. One soldier leaned over Aaliyah. "If you don't shut up, we'll make this a whole lot worse." Tears streamed down her face. "Please," she begged. "I didn't do anything." The other soldier sneered. "That's what they all say." Just then, a car's headlights turned onto the street. The soldiers froze, pulling Aaliyah up roughly by her arm. "Go home," one snapped, "and keep your mouth shut." The next morning, Miss Evelyn posted the video on social media. Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Millions watched as two U.S. soldiers in uniform harassed and assaulted a teenage black girl for walking home. Aaliyah's name trended online. Activists demanded justice. But the town's police chief dismissed the outrage. "There's no evidence of wrongdoing," he said in a press conference. The soldiers were simply ensuring public safety. The words hit Aaliyah like a punch to the gut. At school, whispers followed her everywhere. Some students supported her. Others accused her of trying to ruin the soldiers' careers. "You should have just done what they said," a classmate muttered one day. Aaliyah felt alone. Even her mother, a nurse who worked double shifts, warned her to be careful about speaking out. "They're soldiers, baby," her mom said, fear in her eyes. "They'll protect each other." But Aaliyah refused to stay silent. If you believe stories like Aaliyah's need to be told, subscribe to Wealth and Wounds. These are the truths they'll never show you on the news. Carla Jennings, a civil rights lawyer known for taking on impossible cases, reached out to Aaliyah. "They think they're untouchable," Carla said, sitting across from Aaliyah in her small kitchen. "But if we fight smart, we can win." Together, they filed a lawsuit against the two soldiers and the U.S. Army. The backlash was immediate. News anchors questioned Aaliyah's credibility. Online trolls flooded her social media with racist comments. Anonymous letters appeared in her mailbox, telling her to drop the case or else. But Aaliyah didn't back down. The video Miss Evelyn recorded became a rallying cry for activists across the country. Protests erupted in Millstone, demanding justice for Aaliyah. Yet, in court, the defense tried to paint her as a troublemaker. They claimed she had been loitering suspiciously and that the soldiers acted out of reasonable concern. Aaliyah sat quietly, hands clenched in her lap, as they twisted the truth. During cross-examination, Carla pulled out a surprise piece of evidence: body cam footage from a nearby police car. The footage revealed the soldiers laughing after the assault. One of them could be heard saying, "No one's going to believe her anyway." Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge's gavel slammed. Both soldiers were found guilty of assault and misconduct. One was dishonorably discharged. The other faced prison time. For a moment, it felt like justice had finally been served. But as Aaliyah left the courthouse, a black SUV slowly rolled past. The tinted window lowered just enough for her to see a man's face, a man in uniform. He smirked. That night, Aaliyah's mother found a note taped to their front door. "This isn't over. Watch your back." Aaliyah's hands shook as she read it. She looked at her mom, then back at the street outside their window. The same SUV was parked across the street, headlights off. She realized the battle was only beginning. The courtroom verdict had made headlines across the nation. News outlets ran footage of the trial, showing two disgraced soldiers led away in cuffs. Social media exploded with hashtags like hashtag Justice for Aaliyah and hashtag no one is above the law. But with fame came danger. Strangers messaged Aaliyah online, some with support, others with hate. "People don't like when you mess with their heroes," Carla explained, scrolling through threats on her phone. "You stood up to the military. Some folks will see you as brave. Others will see you as a problem that needs to be silenced." Despite the national attention, Millstone felt colder than ever. People she'd known her whole life avoided her. Some neighbors whispered as she passed. Others crossed the street. One day, walking back from the store, Aaliyah overheard two men at a gas station. "She should have kept her mouth shut," one muttered. "She'll regret it," the other said with a chuckle. Her heart pounded as she hurried home, pulling her hoodie tight around her face. Carla arranged a meeting with Reverend James Porter, a local pastor who'd been fighting injustice for decades. He listened quietly as Aaliyah recounted the threats, then placed a hand over hers. "Child, they fear you," he said. "They fear what your courage represents. But courage is contagious, and we're not going to let them scare you into silence." Reverend Porter promised to organize community support. "If they're watching you, we'll be watching them." 1 week later, a shocking development hit the news. The Army announced it was overturning the conviction of one of the soldiers. The evidence was flawed, a spokesperson claimed at a press conference. Further review indicates the soldier acted in good faith. Carla slammed her fist on the table as she watched the news. "They're rewriting history." Aaliyah felt sick. "They're making me out to be a liar. They're protecting their own," Carla said bitterly. And this is only the beginning. Within days, new articles surfaced online painting Aaliyah as a troubled teen. Anonymous sources claimed she had been disrespectful to the soldiers, that she'd provoked them. "She's doing this for attention," one headline read. Aaliyah scrolled through comments late one night, tears blurring her vision. "Liar. Another race-baiting brat. She deserved it." She threw her phone across the room. Carla arrived the next morning with grim news. "They're digging into your life, Aaliyah," she said. "They're trying to discredit you before part 2 of this trial even starts." "Part 2?" Aaliyah asked. "Yes," Carla said. "We're filing a civil rights lawsuit against the Army itself. This isn't just about 2 soldiers anymore. This is about a system that thinks it can hurt people like you and get away with it." If you believe in Aaliyah's fight for justice, hit subscribe. Wealth and Wounds is here to make sure these stories are never buried. 2 nights later, Aaliyah woke to the sound of shattering glass. She grabbed her phone and crept to the living room. A masked man was rummaging through drawers. "Mom," she screamed. The man bolted, but not before grabbing Carla's legal files from the coffee table. Police arrived hours later, but they were dismissive. "Looks like a simple burglary," one officer said with a shrug. Carla shook her head. They weren't looking for money. They wanted evidence. The next day, an anonymous video surfaced online. It showed Aaliyah screaming as one of the soldiers shoved her to the ground. But the video was edited to make it look like she had lunged at him first. "This is a smear campaign," Carla said, pacing the living room. "They're using propaganda tactics." Aaliyah felt like the walls were closing in. "How do we fight this?" "By finding the truth they're so desperate to hide," Carla said. That evening, Carla received an encrypted email. "I have proof the soldiers were ordered to harass locals. Meet me tonight." The sender identified themselves only as Raven. Carla hesitated. This could be a trap. she told Aaliyah. Or it could be our only chance, Aaliyah whispered. They agreed to meet at a quiet diner on the edge of town. Raven was a young soldier in plain clothes. He slid a flash drive across the table. This has everything, Raven said. Orders, emails, even internal memos. They wanted to intimidate residents into leaving so they could buy upland for a military training expansion. Aaliyah's heart raced. So, they targeted me because of where I live? Raven nodded. You were just unlucky enough to be the example. Before they could ask more questions, Raven's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face draining of color. They know I'm here, he whispered. As Carla and Aaliyah left the diner, headlights blinded them. A black SUV roared into the parking lot. Run, Carla shouted. They sprinted across the lot and jumped into Carla's car. The SUV gave chase, weaving dangerously close. Hold on, Carla yelled, flooring the gas. Aaliyah clutched the flash drive like her life depended on it. Carla managed to lose the SUV by ducking into an alley and cutting the lights. They sat in silence, hearts pounding, until the sound of the SUV faded. That was no coincidence, Carla said. They're desperate to stop this getting out. Aaliyah stared at the flash drive in her hand. Then this must be huge. Carla called Reverend Porter. We need safe housing, she said. Porter arranged for Aaliyah and her family to stay at a secure location run by community activists. Meanwhile, Carla would begin decrypting the flash drive. What's on it? Aaliyah asked. If it's what I think, it could bring down half the chain of command, Carla said. 3 days later, Carla went public. She posted select documents from the flash drive online. Emails showing soldiers ordered to intimidate locals, evidence of falsified reports, and proof that military officials knew about the attack on Aaliyah and tried to bury it. The internet exploded. News outlets scrambled to cover the scandal. The Pentagon released a statement promising an investigation. But Aaliyah knew better. They're not investigating, she told Carla. They're covering their tracks. Late that night, as Aaliyah sat in the safe house, her burner phone buzzed. A text appeared from an unknown number. You think you've won? Check the news. She turned on the TV. Breaking news. Carla Jennings, prominent civil rights attorney, reported missing. Aaliyah's breath caught in her throat. Carla, she whispered. The screen switched to security footage. Carla's car, abandoned on the side of a highway. Aaliyah's heart pounded. If they could take Carla, she knew she was next. If this story has your heart racing, like, comment, and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to Wealth and Wounds, because part 2 will reveal the shocking truth behind Carla's disappearance.